Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. I'm just going to give good night, first of all. I'm going to just give it a couple of minutes for the rest of our crew to get on board.
I was talking to my wife for a second.
Oh, okay.
But you know,
how are you doing, Miss Shirley?
Good, good.
So this is a really interesting night because we have a lot of different events. The congressman has his fundraiser. There are just a lot of other activities happening tonight. Springfield Gardens has their board meeting. We have a lot going on.
He was an established conductor of the most prestigious and the largest orchestras in Europe, which were in Paris at the time.
Derek, how are you?
To write the very first works that he was
actually doing pretty good. Surprisingly, like wide awake after running around the house with my son. But
ask, are you off? Are you not live because you're putting him to bed?
Well, I actually you probably not gonna give the camera.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's the monster I'm gonna chase it after all day today. So.
Got it.
How you feeling?
Hi, Richard. How are you?
Hey, Sanjeev, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
All right, I'm gonna turn off my screen for a quick second.
Hi, Shirley. Hi, Faye. How you doing? All right. Okay. Good. Hi, Richard.
Hey, how are you, Miss Hill?
Okay. Hi, Derek.
Hey, Miss Fayhill, how you feeling?
All right, good.
That's good.
Hi, Tanya.
Hey there. Good evening.
Good evening.
How you making out?
Okay.
So I think we can consider.
All righty.
Okay, so should we?
A while to get in, so we'll just give them a chance to get.
Okay, we'll wait a few more minutes.
Hi, Crystal.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. Hi, Rich, how are you?
Hey, good night. All right, we got Mr. McDonald. So actually, you know what? We're not that large of a group. I think it's growing. What I'd like to do is, and we are all getting to know each other. What I'd like to do is start off with some brief introductions. And I think we have enough time to hear from everyone. If you can just say your name and your neighborhood, I think that's pretty cool. And then we can dive in. Tonight's meeting is gonna focus on how prepared we are, if there are any questions, questions that we're getting for the upcoming election. And I know that there's a lot of questions, concern about the elections next year. And then Eric Adams, who's running for mayor, he's going to join us. And he's gonna just use a brief opportunity to talk about his platform. And then we'll have a few minutes to ask him some questions as well. So I'm Richard. I'm happy to be district leader in Assembly District 31. And I live in South Ozone Park. Ms. Hill?
I'm Faye Hill. I am a new appointed district leader for Assembly 31, and my co-compadre is Richard David and 31B. Welcome everybody. I don't know everybody's name. I see their names here, but welcome everybody.
Excellent. And Mr. McDonald, do you want to go?
Good evening. I'm William McDonald, President, Sojourner Truth Democratic Club, District 31. I reside in Springfield Gardens.
So that is the name of our club, Sojourner Truth. We're exploring a renaming, but that is the name of our club currently. Sanjeev, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Sanjeev Jindal from Floral Park. I'm running for New York City District 23 from Democratic Party. Working in the community for last 15 years, working with Meek's office very closely and Richard also. So that's pretty much about it. And good luck to you, Richard. This is a great program that you are organizing for our candidate for the mayor, Eric Adams. Wonderful effort. Thank you.
All right. And we love to have candidates from all over join us. Anyone else who wants to go next? Miss Shirley, why don't you go next?
Shirley Fitz, I reside in Hollis, Queens. My assemblyman is David Weprin, Congressman is Gregory Meeks, and State Senator is Leroy Comrie. I've been here in Queens, Jamaica all my life since I was born from Queens General Hospital, so I'm pretty well kept here all my life.
Okay, Hollis in the house. I see Earl is on here. How you doing, Earl?
Greetings, how you doing?
All right, all right. We got Rochdale in the house. Uncle Payush, how are you doing?
Studying a different sport. Yeah, I actually got.
Hi.
Hello.
This is Vanessa Sparks from the Fred Wilson Democratic Club, Secretary for the Fred Wilson Democratic Club, 32nd Assembly District from South Jamaica. Thank you for allowing me to sit in on your meeting.
We're glad to have you. And actually, what everyone is trying to do, especially in our neighborhoods of Southeast Queens, is build closer relationships between the clubs and the club members. I'm glad you're here.
Welcome.
We have it, and when we hear music, we cover.
Hi, good evening.
That's right. So if somebody comes up and...
Richard, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hi, this is Celeste James. Nice to see you. Nice to see you all.
So Ms. James, you're on the county committee now, correct?
I am newly elected to the Democratic County Committee, 61st First ED, 33rd Assembly District. Member of the Carolyn A United Democratic Club, and I'm still sitting on Community Board 12. Good to see you, Earl, and everyone.
Okay, what's the word?
Congratulations on your win formally, and we want to work.
Thank you so very much.
All right, Ms. Crystal Brown, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, good evening and greetings to all of you. Thank you for inviting me to the meeting. For 33 years, I've been a resident in Brookville, Southeast Queens, and a member of the exec board for the Springfield Rosedale Community Action Association. And I'll have to beg off a little early. We have a board meeting tonight, but I'm so glad to join you. So glad to be invited. Thank you so much.
Yes, and congratulations on your recent additions. It's been a rolling stone picking up momentum, getting the Science Center. And if there's anything we can do to help, we'd be happy to. Please send our regards to your board.
We'll do that. Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right, so before we jump in, I see Allison Alexis, who is a leader herself. She runs the Queens Cancer March. Carolyn Adams is here. We got some young people in the house as well. Is there anyone who wants to introduce themselves as well who I didn't get to before we dive in? Derek, why don't you say something?
So good evening, everyone. My name is Derek DeFloremont. I do live in District 31. I'm also a resident of Rosedale, and I'm also a member of the Community Board 13 as well.
Okay.
Oh, wait, can you see me? I have my camera off the whole time. I didn't.
Excellent. So, Faye, Miss Hill and I, we want to make sure that our community and everyone really has a sense of where, of what's happening both with our local Democratic Party, that people understand, and Mr. McDonald, that folks understand what's happening with the Democratic Party. That folks also understand what's happening with the upcoming elections for the general election. And then I get a feeling that a lot of the folks here probably have answers and have asked these questions already. It's now making sure that when people come to you, you're giving them a consistent answer. And so I'm just gonna open it up to see if there are any election questions. I see Miss Lorraine has her hand up. Miss Lorraine, do you have a question? Lorraine?
If you have questions,
I'm sorry, I was just raising my hand to say hello to my friends. That's all.
Oh, that's one way to do it.
Yeah. If you have questions, you can put it in the chat also.
So I have a question. When has anyone made a plan of when they're going to go vote, or are you waiting for November 3rd?
I'm going first. I'm going October 24th.
Yeah. Okay.
I got a couple of my friends together. We're going to try to go. I vote at the casino here at Resorts World. So I'm going to try to go Sunday morning at 10 o'clock when they open.
Yeah, I'm going Saturday, 10 o'clock.
So our district, the Board of Elections was reporting that over 1 million people have already voted in New York City. Over 1 million people have already voted through absentee ballots.
Amazing.
And that's an incredible amount of people. But I've actually been kind of discouraging folks from voting online, or by voting by mail, just because we have the option of going in person, either at the Board of Elections now or starting on Saturday at your designated early poll sites, or of course on your last opportunity is November 3rd. I've been doing that because in our last election here, almost 37% of the votes were thrown out that were mailed in. That's 3,000 or 4,000 votes. It's a lot of votes. And so I just, and you know, it's different from what the Trump administration is claiming. They're claiming fraud. It's just too easy with mail-in to make an error. It's, you know, with stamps and with addresses and writing things on the ballot, and they all get thrown out, unfortunately.
Also, with the absentee ballot, a lot of people are getting confused with the ballot itself. It's especially the back of where they have the judges. You have judges who are running under Republican, Democrat, Conservative, and working group.
And about 20.
Yeah, so you have to be careful. And I don't know if everybody know who the judges are.
I got my ballot right here. I pulled it offline.
Yeah. So I don't know if everyone knows who their judges are. And that's a very important part of the elections also, to know who your judges are, because they are the ones who will decide on the judgment of people in the Southeast Queens. So you have to know who your judges are. So for example, there's a judge that I see on the back of the ballot. Somebody gave me a copy of the absentee ballot, and he's also running on the Democratic as well as the Conservative as well as the Republican. So so you have to be very careful how you cast your ballot.
Well, how would you be careful? Where would you find the information that would help you?
That's a good question, because
actually, I have a link. Hi, everyone. There is actually, it's a quick guide to New York City's 2020 judicial ballot.
Right.
Share it in the chat, and you can see all of the different judges that are running. They were actually all on a panel that Delta Sigma Theta had a few years ago. And I watched that, and that was really helpful also. So I can share that link too.
Thank you. And Carolyn, can you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, sure. Hi, my name is Carolyn. I am a lifelong resident of Southeast Queens. I work in media, so I'm tuned into all of the news and trying to find out what's going on in the area and making sure that people are being served and know what's going on. And I just came to support Richard and to hear about, what's going on in this kind of crazy time. Everyone's been home, and I know it's really hard for everyone for different reasons and lots of reasons. So yeah, happy to be here.
We appreciate you here, and I want to get more young people involved too. Everyone, but we don't have young people building up our Democratic clubs, so it's cool.
Yeah, welcome, Carol.
Thank you.
So in the chat, I put a website. It says it's findmypollsite.nyc.gov. That's going to be your best friend. After the people on this call, that's going to be your best friend. If you put in your address in that website, it'll give you all the candidates who will be on your ballot before you go, so you can look them up, including the judicial candidates. It'll also tell you all of your poll sites in addition to your early voting sites. So it's a one-stop shop really for just everything that you need.
That's fine. Should have a question.
Oh yeah, it don't work good in here. Your phone.
This is Lisa Dean. Hi, Richard. Can I ask a question? I requested the absentee ballots for my parents, and now that we have the opportunity to do early voting in addition to absentee ballot, are they allowed to do early voting? On their absentee ballot?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The way it works is your in-person vote always overrides your mail-in ballot. So if you go in person and you vote, it's still valid. It's not counted as voting twice. And so your in-person vote will override the one that you've mailed in.
Okay, awesome.
So what you're saying, Richard, that if you go in person and you mail in an absentee ballot, the in-person vote take precedent over the mail-in ballot?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're not voting twice. Okay.
I thought if you mail in your ballot, you don't go in person. If you do request it, but you don't mail your ballot, you can walk your ballot in during.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't vote twice.
You can take it in.
So they've kept the rule consistent with the way they did it in the primary. So if you've mailed out your ballot and for some reason you're like, oh, I changed my mind, or I'd rather go in person, you still have that option. You haven't forfeited your in-person option with your mail-in ballot. And so you can go in person and you can vote in person, even if you've mailed out the ballot. And the way they do it on the back end is they look, they cross-check both IDs with your name, and they invalidate the mail-in ballot.
Right.
They don't open the mail-in ballots until after they count all the person ballots. So if they see your name, they just won't open your ballot at all, your mail-in ballot. It doesn't get opened. It stays closed and in a record.
Okay.
That's how we did it for the primary, and it worked really well. And they're going to repeat it here. And I don't know. I know that you can. I heard that you can kind of walk your ballot into the poll site.
Yeah.
Your mail ballot. Did I hear that correctly? That someone's asking, can you walk your mail-in ballot to the poll site?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can.
I saw some people doing that, and I didn't see a lot of. I didn't see it work well the last time. I don't know if they've fixed the issue, but poll workers didn't know what to do with those ballots when they got them.
Oh, wow.
They're better prepared this time. For the last election, I was a poll watcher. And for this election, they're a lot better prepared because a lot more people are going to be bringing in their absentee ballots and dropping them directly into an official ballot box by the first information place that you go in, that first table. They will have a place, or they'll direct you directly to an official ballot box that's by the supervisor of the site. So yes, they did work out the kinks because there were some at the last election, but they're prepared for that now because more people are going to want to drop that ballot in, not wait on a line and go directly home.
Okay, I'm happy to hear that. That's great.
Yeah. I did put in a call into the BOE a couple of weeks ago, hoping that they have good machines, good scanning machines that doesn't break down, because a lot of people are going to come out to vote. And I remember during President Obama's vote, we had a lot of people online, and the machine kept on breaking down, and this was very frustrating. So I requested, I'm hoping that they will do that, have more better machines, working machines, and even if they have the machines break down, they should have someone there to repair it right away, instead of have to call in the Board of Elections for someone to come and fix the machine, because it's very frustrating when people have to stand online. As we see in some states, people are standing online for 11 hours, and that is not called for. But I'm hoping that with the early elections, we will have a more, the size won't be, the lines won't be that long.
Yes.
That's the whole point of voter suppression.
Yeah, exactly.
To frustrate you and make you go home with your vote.
Exactly.
Have people been reaching out to family and friends in other states? And how have their reactions been if you've been doing that?
Well, the lines are long. The lines are very long. Oh boy, just a minute. Let me get out my.
Has anyone been calling, like Georgia or Florida or any other states, Texas even, that you're trying to help Biden-Harris?
This is Vanessa. I have family in North Carolina that voted early, and they said it's been really, really very active. People have come out. They didn't mind waiting on the long lines. My niece who lives there waited, I think she said 3 hours. But you know, they made the best of it and people are really excited. That's what she tells me.
And okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And switching a little bit to thinking about this upcoming election that we have in New York City. So, sorry about that. Sorry about the echo. So in New York City next year, we're going to be electing a new mayor. We're going to be electing 37 new council members and 4 borough presidents. So it's going to be an election cycle like we've never seen before at the grassroots level. And in preparation for that, we want to make sure that we're bringing as many candidates out to our community, especially for citywide office, so they get to know us and they get to hear us. The reality is a lot of elected officials follow Twitter. And if you're on Twitter, the conversations and the issues that are discussed there that are seen as the issues that all New Yorkers care about, they're not often issues that matter to the people that I know and my neighbors. Things like garbage collection, property taxes, you know, the process for managing tensions between landlords and tenants, even the relationship with the police department. They're often not the same conversations and the same dialogue that I hear when I'm talking to neighbors in my community. And so are there specific races that you're looking to and you're looking forward to? And do you have questions about 2021? The other thing that's interesting about 2021 is it's going to be the first time they're introducing ranked choice voting.
That's what I was going to say.
Question, ranked choice voting, you can raise those as well.
Richard, could you explain what rank voting is? Could you give an explanation of it? Because a lot of people don't know the definition or not aware of it.
Absolutely. And there's a little bit of static. So if you could just mute your line, it's so that everyone doesn't hear it. Bibi, I see you have your hand up. Bibi's my mom. Did you have a question or are you just saying hi? Okay, I think she's just saying hi. So before I answer, is there anyone on the line that understands ranked choice voting and feel like they can explain it in a nutshell?
Well, yes, I think I have an understanding of ranked choice voting. That's where if you're not getting, all right, you know what? It's probably best if you do it. It's kind of complicated. It's probably best if you do it.
Okay. All right. So ranked choice voting is, it's brand new. And actually we're going to, if you live in 8031, especially in Springfield Gardens, Rosedale, Brookville, you're going to experience it for the first time before any other New Yorkers experience it. And that's because we're expecting a vacancy with Councilmember Donovan Richards becoming borough president. We're expecting that will be a special election, the first special election in 2021, where going forward will be required. So, you know, when you go to the poll site, you pick your #1 candidate, or you just pick one candidate. So you go in and you say, you know, I want Richard David and no one else. Starting in 2021 with ranked choice voting, you're going to be saying, actually, what I'd like to do is I want Faye Hill to be #1. She's my first choice. I want William McDonald to be #2, because if Faye doesn't win, then I'd like William McDonald. He's my second favorite candidate for this race. And if William doesn't win the majority of the votes, I want to look at Shaliza Dean. And Shaliza Dean is going to be the third candidate that I rank. And then you get to rank in order of your preference from 1 through 5. Or actually maybe all of the candidates, you get to rank them in the order that you want, depending on how many candidates are running. If no candidate gets over 51% of the vote when it's tallied up, meaning your number one choice, no single candidate got more than 51% of the number one votes, then they begin to do a math equation. They look at how many number twos are there. If the number two candidate has way more support than the number one candidate, you could end up where the number two candidate, who is ranked as the favorite by the most people, becomes the winner of that election, although they didn't get the most number one votes. So if I've confused you there, that's the easiest way to explain it. It's a little unsettling, it's a little unnerving, and I'll just repeat it one more time. So you say, these are my top 3 candidates or top 5 candidates, and you rank them from 1 through 5 or the number of candidates who are running. If number 1 doesn't get 51% of the vote, then they look at number 2, number 3, number 4 to see who is then the highest ranked candidate, and that person becomes the winner. This will affect every city council race. It'll affect the mayoral race and the borough president races. Although in Queens, we won't have a borough president race because we believe that Donovan Richards is going to win this upcoming general election and remain in office. Okay, I see Michelle has her hand up.
I think you answered my question already, Richard. I was going to ask, what other political election does this ranking voting take place? But you did say there's 3. So instead of just choosing one, we're going to have to rank 1, 2, say if it's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how it goes.
That's right.
Okay, that's a little complicated, I think, for some.
I have a question.
Who thought of this? This was City Council that made this law?
Okay, before I answer that, and I got my Rochdale family in here. Michelle is an incredible person. I heard over that. So this affects all upcoming New York City elections.
Okay.
It doesn't affect state and it doesn't affect federal, only New York City. And so that's all of your city council members, your public advocate, your mayor, your borough presidents, and your controller. Someone else, I heard someone saying they have a question as well about this.
Well, that was me, Richard William, and you just answered it because I was wondering, does this affect the state and the federal?
No, it doesn't affect state and federal. It's only New York City. And Michelle asked who passed this law. There's an organization called Common Cause. Common Cause is an organization that pushed this in New York City, and they got it approved. The city council voted on this, and it was signed into law. And so going forward, all of our New York City elections are going to change based on this. And we're going to try our best in this club to organize an education seminar where we're looking specifically at that. And I saw that we were joined by Senator Comrie.
Hey, Richard, that proposal was on the ballot.
That's right. I made a mistake. It wasn't something that it was voted on. There was a charter revision commission, and in the last charter revision commission, if you turn your ballot around on the back, that was one of the 5 proposals to revise how we do elections, and that got approved. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I forgot. That's
yeah.
I have a clarifying question with what you just said previously. So
if
we're doing.
Ask to hold for a second. I saw Senator Comrie joined us. Senator Comrie, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. But let her ask a question. I'll wait till afterwards.
Okay, excellent. Please go ahead and please introduce yourself as well.
Oh, hi, I'm Sharika. I live within District 31 for many years. My clarifying question is, so when we're going to the ballot and we're talking about the ranked voting, right?
Tamika, just a minute, please. Will
Sure.
you mute, if you're not talking, will you mute your phone, please, or your computer? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so what you were saying about ranked voting, are we doing two things? In addition to doing the ranking, we're still voting for who we want, right?
So starting in 2021,
yeah,
we're only going to be doing ranked choice voting for New York City elections. And so when you say who I want, let's say you just want one candidate, you don't want to give a ranked order, you can just vote for the one candidate that you want. There's nothing wrong with that. And so in the example I used where Faye Hill, William McDonald, and Shaliza are running, if Faye Hill is your number one choice, you can just vote for Faye Hill as one and leave the rest blank. You don't have to rank it. You have the option now to do that. And a couple of other cities have rolled this out. I don't actually know how successful it's been or what the reaction has been, but it definitely makes me nervous. It definitely makes me worried because we didn't need to make our elections more complicated, but it's become a lot more complicated. Okay, Senator Comrie.
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's good to see those that have put their faces up on the screen. I want to thank good I hope everyone had a productive summer, and I hope everyone is making phone calls to their friends all around New York State and all around the country to make sure that we have a new president in office on January 20th. I cannot tell you how critical it is that you guys already know. You've been down that path. I want to also appeal to you, though, that over the last 2 years, we've enjoyed the first time in 40 years a Democratic majority in the New York State Senate. A few of those races were won by only 1% of the vote, and namely Long Island races. I have 9 races that we're very concerned about trying to maintain our Democratic majority. And if anyone is interested in helping, we're doing phone banking for both the president and my Democratic colleagues in Long Island. I have also Senator Andrew Gennardis in the old Republican district in Brooklyn, who won 2 years ago and is holding on by a thread to try to get reelected because the congressional race between Max Rose and Nicole and his opponent, between Max Rose and his opponent, is making it easy for his Republican opponent to try to sneak in and try to take that seat back from Senator Gennardis, who's been an extremely effective senator. So if anyone is interested, I would ask that you please email me at info@leroycomrie.org, and we can set you up with a virtual phone bank. Or if you're interested in actually going out to Long Island or to Brooklyn or to upstate in Westchester, Rob Astorino is running. He was a Republican that tried to run against Andrew Cuomo 4 years ago. He's running against another great Senate leader, Pete Harckham, up in the Westchester area. We really need some help with those races. And either phone calls or in person knocking on doors, we need all of it. And definitely, if anyone wants to donate, we can work that out as well. Just on the ranked choice voting, I heard the end of it. The ranked choice voting is a mess. I was against it, but it was a ballot. It was put on the ballot last minute. It was supported by groups that want to see further dismantling of minority power in the city. If you look at every other city in the country that has ranked choice voting, it's diminished minority influence, and that's what it was designed to do. So there are some folks that are looking to try to find a way to stop it, even though it was a ballot initiative, because it's going to diminish minority power. And most folks, even during this primary, when folks had to flip the ballot over twice and vote sheets twice, a lot of people didn't bother, or they got the sheet on one side and they looked at just the one set of things and they filled that out and they turned it in, and they complained that they couldn't vote for the judges, or they didn't know the judges were on, or they didn't know that the electors were on, depending on what sheet they you know, picked, which way they picked up the sheet from the Board of Elections, or if they turned it over when they walked to the area where they were voting. Ranked choice voting is going to be an utter mess.
Yes.
And we need to push back on that in every way possible to find a way to stop it, either using the courts or going back to the city council and asking them to override ranked choice voting. It's created a diminution of minority influence in every city in the country that has employed it. It was done very underhandedly by the mayor and these advocates that want to maintain power in the city and keep minorities from really gaining real power. You know, most grandmothers are not going to bother with flipping over a form 2 and 3 times, trying to figure out 5 people to vote for. You know, it's going to be a real problem. So
it is.
You know,
yeah.
I think we're going to have to circle back on that and talk about it in depth, because I see that your candidate is on, a good friend and a longtime leader in this city, and someone that I think would be a great mayor, has joined your group, and that's Brother Eric Adams. So I know that he was your main speaker, so I'm going to get off and keep on zooming around, because there are like 7 Zooms happening between 6 and 8 o'clock. And,
yes.
And I'm only on number 4, so I'm going to zoom on out and ask you all to please make sure that you you know, work those phones all over this country, to your friends all over the country, because we need to make sure that there's a 46th president of the United States of America. Thank you.
Before you go, Senator Comer, this is District Leader Faye Hill. What was what was the email we need to send you for the phone bank?
info@leroycomrie.org. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thanks a lot, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Always a pleasure to have you drop in to visit us.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad I saw it on social media, so here I am.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Right, have a good night, everybody. Stay safe.
You too. Thank you, Senator.
Good night. Before we go any further, may I ask you 2 quick questions before we go farther, please?
Can I know that Borough President Adams has something right after this. I won't leave until we answer those questions, but I want to make sure that he has a chance to speak to us before he has to leave.
I understand. Thank you.
Absolutely. Borough President,
I'm easy now. I'm low maintenance, so you know, whichever you want to flow is good with me. You know.
We get a chance to ask you a couple of questions too.
Okay.
How are you doing today? Are you excited? What are you thinking? What's your day been like? Campaigning for mayor.
People see me as I walk the streets, and they said, "Darn it, man! No one should be having this much fun." You know, I think that, you know, life offers us many things, and if I could just do a quick overview, and then I can open to any questions that you may have. First of all, thanks so much, Sojourner Truth Club, for having me here. Both your district leaders, Richard and Faye. Faye, congratulations to you.
Thank you, thank you.
You know, excited.
Yeah. How is your mother?
She is doing amazing. I spoil her rotten, and
I
she
know
says,
that.
You know what? Brother Anderson, I'm excited, man. You're talking about, you know, young people doing their thing, and so I'm really excited. So let me just say this: I grew, you know, I've been in the city all my life, and it has not always been easy. And I know you hear different people running for office. They give you their spare, but I can remember clearly, born in Brooklyn, raised in South Jamaica, Queens, and probably between the ages of 9 and 13, we used to go to school every day with a shopping bag full of clothing, a Glad bag, because mommy didn't want us to be embarrassed if the marshals threw us out and we didn't have a change of clothing. And we were lifted by our community. You know, every Thanksgiving, people would put turkeys on the back porch. Easter time, we have 6 pairs of shoes. You know, people used to have this thing called a susu, where they were collecting money for our mortgage, and
They
people
still
just
do.
made it happen for us. And I spent my life standing up for people who are now living the life that I lived. And I found myself 2 times in life doing something, not so much because I wanted to, but I needed to. And the first happened when I was arrested at 15. My brother and I were beat bad by police officers, and I was angry. I went through PTSD. I couldn't see a police car without thinking about that beating. I could not hear a siren or see a police show. And I was in a dark place at that time, and it wasn't until Arthur Miller was killed by a chokehold and Randy Evans was shot and killed by housing cops that a group of civil rights leaders in Brooklyn came to 13 of us and told us to go into the police department. And I was like, are you out of your mind? But I believe it's what they were saying. And little did I know, it was after becoming a police officer that I was able to get that demon inside me, and I turned that pain into purpose. Started 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement, 22 years of being a voice to deal with reform, believing that we could have justice and public protection. They go together. In fact, they don't exist without each other. And so during those years, I saw many things in the city. I saw what works and what doesn't. And let me tell you something, you're not going to hear this often by people who are running for office because they don't really want to get down to the basic level. Our city is dysfunctional. And in fact, cities across America are dysfunctional. Cities are made up of accumulation of agencies. And if those agencies are not doing what they're supposed to do, I don't care how much money you put into them, they are going to be dysfunctional. One agency creates a crisis, another agency responds to the crisis that's created. Just look at the Department of Education. That's the highest level of dysfunctionality and criminality of what they're doing to our babies, particularly Black and brown children. 80% of the men and women on Rikers Island don't have a high school diploma, equivalency diploma. A third of the 18 to 21-year-olds read below a 5th grade reading level. 55% have a learning disability. And if the study is right from Texas, as in New York, 40% are dyslexic. We feed the crime problem by not addressing the educational problem. Same thing around the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene in the Department of Education. 70% of 12-year-olds have early signs of heart disease. So while the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene is dealing with trying to fight childhood obesity, childhood diabetes, childhood asthma, we are feeding our babies 960,000 meals a day that causes what? Childhood obesity, childhood diabetes, childhood asthma. Agency after agency, we operate in silos. I always talk about Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who stated, we spend a lifetime pulling people out of the river. No one goes upstream and prevent them from falling in the first place. We need to take our butts upstream. We need to start dealing with how do we prevent crises and not just respond to them and create them. And let me tell you why we don't do that. Poverty is profitable. There are institutions and agencies that eat off of poverty, particularly when you look across the country, you see the same demographics that are living in institutional poverty all over America, Black and brown communities in general, Black and brown men specifically. And there are institutions that benefit off the dysfunctionality and the profitability of poverty. There's no incentive to move us out of poverty. Even when you look at homelessness, how do we pay $175 a night to be in a temporary shelter, an additional $75 a night for service providers that's supposed to be cycling people out, $250 a night, over $1,700 a week? You might as well be living in a darn Waldorf Astoria, and if you want to live like that. We need to cycle people into permanent housing. We need to have a more proactive healthcare system like I have at Bellevue Hospital, first of its kind in America, where we're doing lifestyle medicine. You know my journey, diabetes, lost my sight. Doctor said I would be blind in a year, permanent nerve damage in my fingers and toes. They said I was gonna lose a couple of fingers and toes, ulcer, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, just looking up, feeling a mess. It wasn't until I changed lifestyle medicine in 3 weeks, my vision came back. 3 months, my diabetes went in remission. I just finished my book that some of you may know about Healthy at Last. My 80-year-old mother, 15 years diabetic, 7 years insulin, joined me, and in 2 months, she was off her insulin. The real drug dealer is not the cat that's selling crack on the corner. It's the three-piece pharmaceutical industry that has our families hooked on drugs for the rest of their lives. I'm not going to City Hall just to be another mayor. I believe in the biblical text. This is a Matthew 21:12 moment. Jesus went in the temple. They was doing wrong. He didn't participate. He turned the table over. I'm going to City Hall to do what I have done in government. I'm going there to turn the table over. We need a different energy in government. We need people who are going upstream and finally getting this city to operate and stop being dysfunctional. I'm ready for this. I should win because of one reason only. I'm so darn better than everybody that's running.
That's a great pitch.
Yes.
And so I'll open to any questions that you may have. And again, thank you so much, Sojourner Truth. You are about truth. And let's continue to push the envelope and make us be better as a city.
We do have a question. We do have 3 quick questions, Borough President. I know that during, and I'll kick it off. I know that during your journey, where you focused on your health and your health recovery, that took you to India. And a lot of people in New York City, including members of this Democratic Club, are Hindu and are preparing to observe Diwali. There's been a long-standing demand for Diwali to be a public school holiday in New York City. As mayor, that's something that you believe you will implement. We're really disappointed that the current mayor has said that he would do this and hasn't actually implemented it.
Day one, you're going to see it done. When I'm standing on that stage swearing in to be the mayor of the city of New York, we're going to walk inside City Hall and we're going to sign it into a holiday. Why is that important? The city must look like the diversity of the people who are actually in the city. 47% of the borough of Brooklyn speaks a language other than English at home. When you do an analysis of my campaign filing, which is amazing when you think about it, I'm the only candidate that has raised all the money you could spend in the Democratic primary. We already reached our $7.2 million. Actually, we're a couple $100,000 more. And one reporter called me and they said, Eric, everyone is talking about that you raised the most donors, spent the least amount of money, but no one is looking at the name of your donors. You have more Korean, more Chinese, more African Americans, Caribbean Americans, people from South Asia. I'm the United Nations candidate. I resonate throughout the entire city. The city must start looking like the diversity of the city, and a holiday is a way of saying that we acknowledge your existence and we respect the culture that you bring to this great city. So day one, that holiday will be signed into law.
I can't wait for day one to get here. I wish day one was before this Diwali. Thank you, Borough President.
Thank you.
Ms. Hill?
We had a question from Shirley. She had her hands up.
Yes. Good evening, Eric. This was a question I'm going to ask you. We're in this now with the police commissioner. What do you think it will be your best, since you are a former police officer, for police reform and reinvention? They had a listening session last night at Allen Church. So day one, when you become the mayor, what do you think would be the best solution for reforming police for the 21st century?
Love it. It is not that complicated if you are intentional and you are honest about it. What does that mean? We're going to do 3 major things right away that is directly within the power of the police commissioner and the mayor. Number 1, we're going to diversify the police department in 2 years. How do we do that? There's a minor league and a major league of policing. The minor leagues consist of hospital police, HR police, school safety agents, Department of Transportation, all of the minor leagues. The major league is the NYPD. I'm going to say to all my minor league players, after you show exemplary service and you show that you can interact with the public, in 2 years, I'm going to cycle you in and promote you to be New York City police officers. Why is that important? Over 85% of them are Black, brown, and a substantial number of them are women. We're going to diversify. 100% of them live in the city of New York. So our tax dollars and our neighbors are going to be in our churches, our cleaners, our laundromats, our schools, instead of over 30% being from outside our city, while our tax dollars are going to be spent in the 5 neighboring counties. We're going to keep it in the city. Second thing I'm going to do, I'm going to tell my police commissioner, you are going to give every precinct 3 choices for precinct commander. The most powerful position in the city of New York is a precinct commander. He's in charge of a 300+ army. He determines who gets summonses, what businesses are going to be scrutinized, how he's going to deploy his police officers. I want my commissioner to give 3 choices to the community leaders made up of community boards, civic groups, block associations, and they will interview the police commissioner, and they will interview the proposed precinct commanders and say, give us your vision. How are you going to fight crime? What are you going to do with our youth? And then using 50A, you're going to be able to look at his prior record to make the determination, hey, are you a fit for our community? If you're not a fit, you shouldn't be there. Right now, you have no say-so on who's the precinct commander, and that commander sets the tone from the bottom at the same time. Third, and the most important thing, we are going to say, hey, police officer, you are hired for public protection, not to be a TS operator, not to be in the barrier detail, not to do all these clerical duties. If you hire a carpenter and every time you go home, he's watering your yard, you're gonna say, I didn't hire you for that. I hired you to be public protection. So these cops that have all of these relationships, they're spending time not doing public safety. Let's get them doing public safety. Let's civilianize those jobs that they're doing now, and let's have our police officers focus on crime fighting. You don't have to go do an accident report. I don't need you to do that. I don't need you to spend 3 hours at someone's house for a prior crime that took place. A civilian can do that. I don't need you to spend 3 hours in court or a whole day in court. You can use Zoom to testify in summons court. So we're going to use technology, we're going to use smart ways, and we're going to have a 0 tolerance for abuse. If you are on the scene, when your partner or your colleagues commit a crime or does something abusive, you're going to be treated just like someone that's on a crime for a robbery. You're acting in concert. You will be immediately dismissed from the department. And if it's criminal, you're going to be brought up on criminal charges. We're not going to do that 4 years, pantaleo, waiting before we get rid of you. No, you're going to get rid of you right now, and we're going to send a loud message that it won't be tolerated. You have the authority that even the President of the United States does not have. You could take life and liberty. You must be scrutinized, and you must live up to the nobility of public protection. Public safety is a prerequisite to prosperity, and I'm going to have the finest, not in name only, but the finest New Yorkers to be law enforcement officers.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you. And thank you for that question, Ms. Shirley. I love the idea of officers living in New York City and the community having a voice on who the next captain is. I see there's a question here from, I see Michael at Katwaroo has his hand up. Michael, did you have a question?
Hi, I do. So thank you once again for being here today. I just have a quick question. So I work for a global
neighborhood, if you can, just so the borough president knows what neighborhood you're asking from.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I live in Richmond Hill, Queens. And so my question is, I work for a global agri-tech business. We have a second headquarters here in New York City. You know, given the pandemic and the high taxes in New York, we've actually made the decision to move our HQ to a state that has a lower tax rate, both for businesses and employees. So, you know, for my company, it's too late, but for other businesses that are thinking about leaving the city, what can be done to prevent this?
Thank you for that. And first of all, we are in extremely difficult times, and inefficiency breeds inequality. And you and I and all of you on this Zoom, we have been doing our job of paying our taxes. Government has not done its job of ensuring that our tax dollars are being spent appropriately. And in fact, we've been wasting dollars. And because of that, we have been creating negative energy with many of the businesses that find it difficult to do business, and the bureaucracy that actually appears as though someone crossed out the sign that used to be on the New York State Thruway that says, welcome to the Empire State, to welcome to how we destroy empires. And so we must encourage and promote businesses to return here to the city, like the Farley building that Facebook just did a long-term lease. I must attract you here to the city and businesses like yours. Now we're gonna go through a difficult time. There's going to be probably a 2-year period where we're going to have an accumulation of running our city more efficiently, making sure that we do a cut in all of our agencies, and we may have to do a short-term tax increase to get us over COVID-19, because that's a real problem. But what we must start with is running our city in a more efficient fashion, attracting businesses, making business more, make this a more business-friendly environment, and then say to my businesses, I need you to be part of my K through 12 and my CUNY college curriculum, so that we start preparing children to fill the jobs at the end of their academic career. And it must be a pathway to college and career. And those who want to use CTE programs that don't want to go to college, they still must be able to participate and be part of the experience of being gainfully employed in the city. So I want to attract businesses here. I want to look at new innovations and new businesses, but I want to make sure that my young people are part of the future growth in this city. And I think it's possible to do so by stop making this a city where we're anti-business, anti-growth, and anti-ensuring that everyone can participate in the prosperity that growth offers to the city of New York. We have to do a better job, and I'm going to be keen on doing just that.
Thank you, Borough President. Now I know that I said we have you until 8. Do you have time for one more question?
Yes, I do. Who can say no to Sojourner Truth?
Tanya Cruz, I saw your hand up. Do you want to ask a question?
Thank you. And I'm glad I'm getting the last question. Good evening, VP Adams.
How are you, Tanya?
I'm doing okay. Got a good question for you. Your predecessor, because we know you're going to be mayor, decided to pencil in executive orders for this Vision Zero shenanigans, disaster, did not work. Are you prepared and willing to review? Vision Zero is effective when we actually look at all of the items and not cherry pick the items. Are you willing to look at it and decide whether or not we should keep pursuing it or we should abandon it? Because a lot of the New York City resources have been going into this. A lot of people's hands have been put in, and what we're seeing now on our roads is we've got restaurants, we've got pedestrian walkways, we've got micro-mobility, we've got scooters. You know me, I want the open roads for my motorcycle. We got buses, we got cars, and there's but so much we can put on our roads. And I'm a little bit disappointed that we've got open streets and they're not paying to repair the streets. So now we've got businesses and restaurants expanding on our roads and they're not going to be paying for that repair. It's going to be on us. So there's a whole lot going on, and I just need you to just give a look. It's a big problem. And can you and will you?
Without a doubt. And first of all, we have to redefine the use of our streets, spaces, pedestrian plazas. When we are in a different place, you're going to see more and more people utilize scooters, utilize mopeds, electric bikes. There's just a different conversation about the use of streets and how to do it effectively. And we should have local community input. on how we're going to utilize the streets. I utilize the streets, of course, when I'm traveling great distance. I'm in my vehicle, but I also ride my bike often. I rollerblade often. So I agree 100%. We need to sit down and make sure that we save lives. I have attended far too many vigils where we witnessed the loss of family members, the traumatizing of family members who have lost a loved one. So I agree with you 100%. Vision Zero can't be just a bumper sticker. It has to be a real destination of ensuring that we don't lose innocent people to vehicle crashes, and also that we really start reintroducing, as people receive their permits, their driver's license, we have to redefine the training about sharing the road and how to do it effectively.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you, Borough President. I see that there are a lot of questions, especially about education and the Department of Education, both with mayoral control and changes as a result of the pandemic. We're going to have to invite you back, Borough President.
That sounds like a plan. I look forward to coming back at any time. I am really excited about what is happening with your club. I'm excited about what is the future of the entire area of Queens. As I stated, I grew up in Queens. It's a very important borough for me. Your club is extremely important for me, and I hope I have an opportunity to decide to determine who's going to be your candidate for 2021. My life and commitment to this city will continue to give, and I look forward to the continuous dialogue with this great club. Thank you very much. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for inviting me in.
Thank you. And Mr. McDonald was saying how much he appreciates your background in law enforcement as well, and wants to, I think, reiterate some of our points about supporting the police department and achieving reforms at the same time. Thank you. And
thank you. Take care, all.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So I'm going back to some of the questions that didn't get answered. I believe it was Michelle. Hey, y'all. So there were some questions when we were talking about ranked choice voting before the borough president came. We can take any questions and we can just kind of talk about it, it's a competitive field to be mayor. There are a lot of candidates. Eric Adams is one, Scott Stringer is another. Every day another candidate is known. And more candidates are running away. They don't want this. They're realizing this, they don't want to deal with this kind of role that they've been seeing. So were there questions about either ranked choice voting or what we just heard from Borough President Adams?
Can I go back to a question about early voting and dropping off the ballots?
Yes.
The absentee ballots. Now, since we have early voting, and would candidates be allowed to or constituencies be allowed to drop off their ballots at early voting? Voting sites?
Yes, someone on the call answered that they have trained the poll workers more than they did last time to allow them to accept mailed in ballots at the poll sites, including during early voting.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so how do y'all feel about Eric Adams? We're alone now.
I think he talked a very good game. I think it's very easy to come on and give a good speech and say, I want to do this and I want to do that, and these are my plans for the future. I think as voters and constituents, people also have to be aware that a lot of these things are easier said than done. It's very easy to say, here's the mess with the Board of Education and we have to fix it. I've lived in 8031 my entire life, and you constantly hear the same things over and over. But once you get in there, I think the bigger question is, okay, you want to fix it. You have these great ideas. How do you plan on working with everybody else in city and state government? You know, especially if you're the mayor, you know, very important relationship, somebody really important to have on your side is Cuomo. You know what I'm saying? So how do you plan on working with him? Because de Blasio, even before he got in there, did not have a very good reputation with Cuomo. That's kind of, you see them fighting all the time now when they're doing their addresses, you know, and it also comes where you have to look at policies. Some policies, you know, you look at them, it's not the policy that's the problem, it's how it's enforced that's the problem also. So how do you distinguish between a policy that's really problematic and the fact that it's just being enforced differently? It's nice to talk a great game. He mentioned, you know, tax increases, and he kind of like flew by it. Tax increases are never short term. Let's be honest. Taxes get raised. Very rarely is a tax rate going to get raised for 2 years and come back down. And I think things like that, you really have to talk to people and educate them a little bit more about it. Speeches are great. You know, outgoing personalities are great. Finessing people is great. But what are you really going to do about it? Because I live in 8031, and like I said, we want more parks and we want better schools. I mean, we never had like the most amazing schools, but our schools weren't where they are now. It was a lot better. You know, you talk about Diwali. Okay, yeah, as soon as I get it, it's going to be one of my first things. Great, that's great. But we all know it's not that easy. If it was that easy, it would have been done the minute de Blasio got in there. You know what I'm saying? Things like that. So like, I feel like these are topics, if you know it's very important to people, he really has to try to dive in and get in, and people shouldn't get, you know, really pulled in by a smooth talker, because it's so much more than that when you really get down to it. And especially now that we're going to have this ranking voting, you know, you have to know your constituents. They have to know their constituents. Constituents have to know who they're voting for. You have to know every single person that's going to be on your ballot. Really, really know them more than just, you know, identifying with them based on, you know, religion or color, or we're from the same borough, because it's so much more than that.
Thank you, Natasha. And Natasha, do you want to just introduce yourself? Where in 8031 are you, and what do you do for a living?
Yeah, so my name is Natasha Prasad. I live in 8031 Richmond Hill, around 111th Street. And okay. I used to work for the New York State Assembly. I was there about 7 years ago. No one that I work with is there anymore. Everybody's out. And not on good terms, but now I'm in the nonprofit field. And so I do still maintain a relationship with a lot of city and state officials, because part of my job is to go to them to ask for money. I have a good job. I go to them to ask for money and support. But like I said, a lot of people, they say great things, and then when it gets down to it, you know, it's not as easy as they think it is.
But I just wanted to say something real quick. I want to do a follow-up. I had it was nice to meet Eric. When Eric came up to the Senate, I'm not sure if you were in Assembly then. When he was a senator, I brought like 700 motorcycles up there because we had a big issue going on. He was one of the few senators that did come down to speak to us. He never came to us and said, I'll make it go away, because he's one person. And if we work together, we will win. He's one man that has the willingness to let the people choose, let the people work. His strength, the mayoral strength, is to set forth study groups, is to set forth recommendations. It's for us to take control of our community, which is new to us because it's been taken away from us since back from Giuliani. So it is hard, but we need to embrace this, and we need to get after each candidate for that format. Not what you're going to do, but what are you going to allow us to do? So please, guys, let's stay on this message. It's not about what they're going to do. It's about what you're going to let us do, what you're going to do with my community. Let's not care about the money. If I can get a $1,200 check for COVID, they got money. Don't let them fool us. They've got money. So my last pitch again, when we talk to candidates, what are they going to allow us to do? It's us. They affect us.
Well, and I think so many people put such a great focus on, you know, the federal election, the presidential election, and they don't, you know, 2021 is going to roll around and we have our state and local elections. And a lot of people don't realize that that's really what's going to affect you, right? So we're putting so much thought into like things that are happening federally, but these are the elections that are really going to affect our everyday lives. And, you know, we can support someone for mayor, but he still has to work with city council, and he still has to work with the assembly, and he still has to work with the Senate. And so you need to focus also on those individual relationships, because he can appeal to us as much as we want, but if those other relationships aren't there, he's not going to get as much done as you think he is. So not just focusing on him, but you have to focus on the whole thing, right? So, you know, people, they'll go there, but you have to know who your local members are. And not because you live in 8031 doesn't mean you can't reach across the board and reach out to someone that lives in, you know, another district. And you really have to just know everyone across the board and where they stand in those relationships.
Thank you. I see there's one more hand raised from Michelle. And I recognize that we're a little bit over. I like to stay on time.
I just want to say that him as a Brooklyn Borough president, he has reached out to the people, and I'm going to explain why. He has a group, he continued a group rather, called the Mitchell-Lama Brooklyn Task Force. Yep. Within that group, there are 3 other Mitchell-Lama groups. We all come from within the 4 boroughs. 3 of them have come together and put together legislation for affordable housing that is just like Mitchell-Lama. He has allowed HCR, HPD to come to the Brooklyn Borough President office where the Brooklyn Task Force holds their meetings. He has reached out to all of us. I go to Brooklyn for a meeting. I take off from work when we did have meetings to go to that meeting. So he has reached out to the community, and especially for affordable housing. He has done that because rents are sky high. And when he talks about agencies, a lot of the agencies are supposed to do certain things. He's 100% correct. And he has a plan. And he has allowed the people of Brooklyn, of Queens, to come out and come together and put together legislation to help everybody. So he has done that.
Please
people don't know much about Mitchell-Lama or about this type of affordable housing, but he has stood with his task force to do certain things for people who can't afford really where they're living so that they can go live somewhere else. So he has done that. And I know that for a fact.
We appreciate that, Michelle. Thank you. And housing is one of the big challenges that our city continues to face. Taxes is going to be a big issue. We pay more taxes in Southeast Queens than anyone else in New York City. If you live in a 1, 2, or 3 family home, those are all real issues that we have to get addressed with the next mayor. Ms. Hill, do you want to say something, Donald?
Yeah, what I think this meeting is a first, one of our first meetings for the general public. What we should do is to have more meetings to educate our constituency, because it's lacking. A lot of people don't know what to do when they go to vote, and some people don't even vote in the primary because, and that, as what's her name, Melissa was saying, but the local and the state voting is very important than the federal, and a lot of people stay home when the primary comes around and they don't vote. So we have to educate our people in our constituencies. We have to educate them about the voting and their voting rights, because we lack a lot of information as far as residents in our district are aware of. So we're looking forward to have more forums and more information to our people. Okay.
Very good, Faye. One of the things,
and we gotta get voting. It starts this weekend.
Hello.
Person. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, one of the things I like to reiterate is what Richard put in the email. We're looking to host all of the candidates, all of them that step up. You know, this is not an endorsement. We're having a forum and we're giving the people a forum where they can ask their questions. If anybody has a question, type it in and we'll see if we can get it to them. You know, we have a whole lot of things going on right now, you know, from the COVID to police issues to education issues. And you're not going to address everything in a one Zoom meeting.
Exactly.
The good thing is about this is that the mayor's election is a year away. So we would like to have all the candidates come, you know, anybody that will show up, we will give them a platform. We want this to be the platform where our district can hear who's going to represent us. I agree with a lot of the things I've heard, and, you know, all of the candidates are going to come to us and they're going to tell us what they can do. And it's for us to decide who we choose, you know, to represent us. One of the questions I had is like mail control, and he mentioned education. Mail control is a big issue, especially with what's going on in education now. You know, crime, we all know that that's an issue, but I'd have to agree with Miss Natasha. I'm very concerned living over here in Springfield Gardens about property taxes. We pay, like Richard said, we pay a lot, you know, and it's a lot of people that's at that line, if you know what I mean. Because foreclosures now in our community is still very high. It's one of the things not talked about as much as it should be. So I'm very glad with the participation in this Zoom. And I look forward to the next one.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And again, like Mr. McDonald said, it's not an endorsement of Eric. We want to make sure that we're doing that with the Democratic Party that we're a part of. And we want to invite all the candidates so they get to know us and they get to know you, and we get a chance to ask them things like property tax, which is not a hot topic except if you live here. All right.
And also before we go, also if we could get young people to come on and give their views also, and tell your neighbors that they can come on, because a lot of people have questions, but they stay behind doors and they don't come out and voice their issues or voice their concerns. So we need to know. We need to know what you're thinking. Like if you don't have a street light, if you don't have a stop sign, we need to know, well, as part of education and so forth, we need to stress on our education, mental health. If after COVID-19 is gone away from us, we're going to have a lot of mental issues in our streets. And this has to be addressed also. Okay, this is going to be a major factor of our everyday life. It's not going to be shoved under the carpet. We're going to have a lot of problems because after COVID is disperse or leave us. I don't know. I hope it'll leave so soon, but we're going to have a lot of problems. So we need to hear from other people. Share our emails and our flyers with your neighbors and our young people, old seniors or whatever it is, because they're paying taxes just as we all are. So let us hear what you have to say. This is a new beginning, a new beginning for us. We can't say we used to do that. It's no good now. We are moving forward, okay? So let us hear from other people and share your emails. And if you don't have, if people can't get on virtual, they can use the phones. I'm quite sure everybody has a phone, even a cell phone. Okay, thank you.
Question.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hill. I'm gonna end it here. Please message me if you have any more questions, and please let's go out and vote. Thank you so much, and have a good night.
Thank you, guys, and be well.